A long time ago, deep in the heart of the land, there was a secret village. No one knew exactly how it came to be, but the women who lived there believed they had been born from the earth itself. There were no men, and yet, generation after generation, daughters were mysteriously born. These women were breathtakingly beautiful. Their skin glowed like the morning sun, their eyes held the wisdom of ages, and their laughter echoed through the hills. They lived in complete harmony, helping one another, laughing, singing, and cooking together. Every afternoon, the women would sit outside in small groups, weaving each other's hair into intricate braids. The scent of roasted meat, chicken, and rich, sweet soups filled the air. The soft pounding of fufu in wooden mortars added rhythm to their peaceful lives. They were free from worries, free from troubles, until one day, a man arrived. He stumbled into the village by accident. His clothes were torn, his breath heavy, and his eyes wide with surprise. The women gasped in shock. Never before had they seen a man. They gathered around him, whispering to one another, staring at his rough hands and broad shoulders. "Where did you come from?" They asked. "I was hunting in the forest when a lion chased me," he explained, still panting. "I ran and ran, until I found myself here." "What is this place?" "You are in our home," the women said. "A place where only women live." The man looked around in amazement. "Only women? But how do you have children?" "We come from the earth," they said simply. The man stared, struggling to believe their words. "I have never seen anything like this. In my village, we have men, strong, handsome men. We can take care of you." The women shook their heads. "We take care of ourselves." But the man did not stop talking. Every day, he spoke of his world beyond the forest, of men who could help them, who would protect them. Slowly, his words planted a seed of curiosity. Still, the women's leaders were firm. "You have rested enough," the elderly women told him. "In 2 days, you must leave," he nodded, accepting their decision. But something had already begun to change. Among the women, there was one named Lumi. She found herself drawn to the man, whose name was Ruti. He made her laugh, helped her gather firewood, and listened when she spoke. One evening, while the stars twinkled overhead, they met in secret beneath the trees. That night, Lumi experienced something new, something that made her heart race and her body tingle. She smiled, feeling warmth unlike anything she had known before. "I don't want you to leave," she whispered, "but your leaders have asked me to go," Ruti said. Lumi frowned. "I will talk to them. Maybe they will change their minds." The next morning, Lumi met with her friends, unable to hide her excitement. "I have felt something wonderful," she told them. "I never knew something like this existed." Her friends were fascinated. "We want to know too," they said, so Lumi led them to the trees, where Ruti stood waiting. He smiled. "You are curious?" The women nodded, and so, one by one, they experienced the same new feeling. Their laughter echoed through the night, their whispers filled the air. Soon, they realized something. They did not want Ruti to leave. If he left, they would never feel this joy again. "We will hide him in the forest," they decided. "Until we convince our mothers and leaders." Ruti agreed, but he had his own plan. "Let me go back to my village," he said. "I will bring my brothers and friends. I cannot handle you all alone." The women smiled. "Yes, bring them," they said, and so, Ruti set off on foot, making his way back to the land of men. Meanwhile, the women whispered and giggled, spreading news of what had happened. Older women listened curiously, wondering about this experience that had brought so much delight. Soon, thoughts of men filled the village. Slowly, the idea took root. Maybe life with men would not be so bad, maybe their world was about to change forever. Some of the elder women began to yearn for the presence of men. One evening, a respected elder, Mama Zara, sat by the fire with a group of younger women as they weaved her grey hair. She asked, "Where is Roti now? Has he gone?" One of the younger women, smiling with a mischievous glint in her eyes, responded, "No, Mama. He has gone to bring more men." Mama Zora smiled knowingly. "Then we must prepare," she said. Days passed, and then just as promised, Roti returned. This time, he did not come alone. He brought more men with him. They were strong, agile, and charming. Their voices were deep, their laughter confident, and their hands capable of building and shaping things. The women felt excitement stirring in their chests. At first, the arrival of the men was a source of fascination and delight. The women, curious and eager, welcomed them with warmth, allowing them to settle in the secret cabin in the forest. They were fed lavishly, bowls of steaming rice, juicy roasted meat, thick, savory soups. The aroma of food and desire mingled in the air. Every evening, groups of women sneaked away to meet them, sharing meals, laughter, and a new, strange experience that had awakened something deep inside them. Slowly, the secret could no longer be contained. The women whispered in excitement, giggling as they shared stories of their experiences. And as the whispers spread, more women, both young and old, began venturing into the forest to meet the men, except for Mama Aya. Mama Aya watched everything unfold with disgust. She saw how the women, once proud and independent, now giggled and yearned for the company of men. She saw how the balance of their village was shifting. Her heart burned with anger. "Have you all forgotten who we are?" she asked, glaring at a group of young women one evening. "We are daughters of the earth. We have lived in peace without men for centuries." But her words fell on deaf ears. The women laughed off her warnings. Time passed, and the men, little by little, started moving into the village itself. No longer confined to the forest, they occupied huts, walked the streets freely, and even claimed land for themselves. Mama Aya watched in horror. Soon, the women began to grow pregnant. For the first time, their bellies swelled, not from the earth's gift, but from the life growing inside them. They felt the kicks and flutters of their unborn children. "This is different," they murmured. Not only from the earth, but from men. They were amazed. They bore sons for the first time. They cradled their newborns, smiling as they marveled at the little fingers and tiny faces. At first, everything seemed beautiful. The women thought they had gained something wonderful, but soon, the truth began to reveal itself. As time passed, the men began to change. The admiration and sweetness turned into something else, something bitter. One evening, a woman stood outside her hut, rubbing her swollen belly. She was exhausted, but happy. Then her man looked at her, frowning. "I don't like you anymore," he said suddenly. She blinked in shock. "Why?" she asked. "Your stomach is too big now," he said, sneering. "I will look for someone younger." Tears welled in her eyes, but before she could speak, he walked away, leaving her behind. Another woman, older, sat by the fire with her husband. He ran his fingers over her skin and frowned. "What are these ugly marks?" he asked. "They came after I had your child," she answered softly. "They were never here before." He snorted. "Make them go away," he said coldly. "Or I will find someone else." The women were stunned. They had never experienced cruelty before. Their bodies had always been honored, their strength celebrated. Now, they were criticized, insulted, pushed aside. Slowly, the men stopped helping them with chores. The women worked the farms alone, carried heavy bundles of firewood, prepared meals while the men lazed about. All the men did was eat, talk, and laugh at their expense. The women cried. They regretted ever allowing the men into their world. Mama Aya saw everything, and she knew she had to act. She began moving in secret, visiting women in their huts, whispering to them in the shadows. "This is not how we lived before," she told them. "We were free." The women, tired and broken, listened. "We must fight," she said. At first, many were hesitant. The men had taken over their village. They were strong. They controlled everything, but soon, more women joined her. It started with whispers in dark corners, quiet promises between tired women, and secret meetings behind huts. They had watched their world crumble, had felt the weight of suffering settle on their shoulders, and had tasted the bitterness of regret. Mama Aya led them, her eyes burning with determination. She had watched enough, and now, she would act. We will not beg, she told them. We will fight. And then, one dark night, their fight began. At first, the men laughed. You wish to challenge us? One of them scoffed, folding his arms across his chest. Go back to your cooking pots. But the women did not turn back. They armed themselves with wooden staffs, sharp stones, and fire. They called upon the spirits of the earth, the ancestors who had once protected them, and they rushed into battle with all their might. The village became a battlefield. Women, strong and furious, struck at the men who had mocked them. They fought with the force of generations, mothers, daughters, sisters, all standing together. They scratched, they kicked, they wielded their cooking pots and pounding sticks as weapons. The men, shocked by their strength, they had never expected such resistance. They had underestimated the women who had once lived in peace but now burned with rage. Seeing that they were losing ground, the men grew desperate. The fight was unlike anything the village had ever seen. It was not just a battle of fists and weapons, it was a battle for survival, for dignity, for the very essence of what the women once were. The women fought with all their might. They struck with sharpened sticks, flung stones, and wielded their pounding sticks like warriors. Their bodies, once used only for care and creation, had become instruments of war. They fought with rage, with hurt, with the memories of the peace they had lost. The men, realizing that they were being pushed back, turned to their last resort, fire. The men began to set the huts on fire. Thick black smoke rose into the sky. Fire crackled. One by one, the huts went up in flames. The homes where the women had once laughed and cooked together burned to ash. Thick smoke filled the air, choking them. The fire, wild and untamed, consumed everything in its path. Screams echoed through the village. Some women tried to put out the flames. Others ran in terror. Mama Aya saw it all. She knew that even if they defeated the men, the village would never be the same. Their home was lost. Their peace was shattered beyond repair. She made a final choice. With desperate hands, Mama Aya gathered a group of the strongest women, those who had refused to bow. They ran to the sacred ground, where their ancestors had once called upon the earth to bring forth life. Falling to her knees, Mama Aya pressed her palms against the soil, tears streaming down her face. Mother of the earth, she cried, you gave us this life. You gave us this home. The men have ruined everything. Take us away. Hide us. Let us live in peace again. The ground trembled. The wind howled. The fire crackled as though it was listening. The earth opened, swallowing them into its depths. And when the dust settled, they were gone. To this day, it is said that Mama Aya and the women who vanished are still alive in a nameless location, hidden between hills and mountains, untouched by men, unseen by outsiders. They live as they once did, free. Their laughter still rings through the trees. Their skin still glows. They still sit outside in circles, braiding each other's hair, cooking meals that fill the air with sweet aromas. They thrive, protected by the earth that once birthed them. No man has ever found them. No man ever will. But not all women escaped. Some stayed behind. Some clung to the temporary excitement that the men had given them. They ignored the suffering, the cruelty, the growing pain in their hearts. At first, they convinced themselves that the men would love them, that things would become better. They were wrong. Once the battle ended, and once the fire stopped burning, the men took full control. They claimed the remaining huts, took the best lands for themselves, and forced the women back into submission. The insult started again. The women cried. But crying did not stop the pain. The men married more wives, took more women, treated them as objects instead of equals. The women worked the farms alone, carried water alone, cooked alone, while the men sat in the shade eating, gossiping, mocking them. The women realized their mistake, but it was too late. The village, once sacred, was now broken. The women who stayed endured the suffering, raising their children in silence. Some whispered about Mama Aya and the women who had vanished. They told stories of a secret land where women still thrived, untouched by men. But others simply accepted their fate. And so, the story lived on. The story of the village of women was carried by the winds, told in secret corners, whispered in the ears of daughters. Who would grow up to wonder, was the world ever meant to be this way? This powerful tale teaches several lessons that resonate deeply. Freedom is priceless. The women thrived in peace until the men arrived. This reminds us that independence and harmony should never be compromised for fleeting desires. Beware of false promises. The men spoke of protection and love, but their words led to pain. Not everyone who offers help has good intentions. Strength comes in unity. The women fought back when they stood together. Change happens when people unite for a common goal. Self-worth over approval. The women who stayed behind suffered, trying to please the men who treated them badly. Never sacrifice your dignity for someone else's acceptance. Legends carry warnings. The story serves as a reminder to future generations. Peace must be protected, and past mistakes should never be repeated. Food for thought. Do we sometimes trade our freedom for comfort? What happens when we ignore warnings from history? Are there places like the village of women in the real world or hidden sanctuaries untouched by modern chaos? How often do we silence our own voices for the sake of relationships that drain us? Let this story spark conversations that challenge our perspectives. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this fascinating story and its deep lessons. Your thoughts and interpretations matter, so let's keep the conversation going. Drop your comments below. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, thumbs up, share it with your friends and loved ones, and subscribe for more thrilling and thought-provoking stories. There's so much more to come, and I can't wait to take you on the next adventure. Until next time. Bye for now. This was brought to you by Delia Storytime.